dinosaurs, so that's going to be fun. In my last video, we did download this alligator skin texture, which works pretty well for a dinosaur. So first I'll drag that into here, and to make it different, I'm just going to flip it sideways. Because I want to do it right now, I'm just going to recolor it. But we're also going to need an eye, and honestly, I don't know which kind of eye I want, so I'm just going to look up an animal eye. Now this eye seems like it would fit in really well with our alligator scales. And this icon also has this belly, which we're going to need another texture for. Reptile belly might work. There we go. This is a good texture for this. And what's funny is it's a crocodile, which works. And before we put any of these in there, we have to rename them. And now that we have, we can drag those two into Photoshop. Like usual, I'll fit this skin around the icon. And if I distort it a little and then warp, then I can push it around the edges. And I can fit it onto this belly in a 3D looking way. And I'll put a layer mask on that and then fill it in on this stomach area. The last thing I gotta put in is this eye. I'll turn down the opacity so that I can overlay it exactly on top, and I'll rotate it. And now I can meticulously go through and cut out all of the skin using the pen tool. Let's make the eye not orange. I also want to go in and push the edge in for this stomach. And there are also places like this blue pattern in the arm and the mouth where the skin will overlap and it needs to be a different texture. So I'm actually going to drag in this alligator skin texture another time, but I'll paint it in those images. I can just paint these in over the overlapping areas and fade them out with the soft brush. So you remember the mouth parts so that they stick out a little bit more. I'll do the same thing where I push in the texture from the outside. You can see that it kind of makes it look a little bit more strategic. Before we get to shading this, I'm just going to go ahead and recolor the areas that need to be recolored. And those include this eye, the spikes right here, and then the stomach as well. Now that all the colors are right, I can add exposure layer and then invisible. Now we can get to shading instead. Keep it simple and match the other icon's lighting by putting the shadows on the underside. And this is where we can really give those extra appendages some depth. We'll also add some shadows behind the eye here, it'll make it pop out more. I'll even add some overall shadows to this whole thing. I think doing it here is going to help the transition between the stomach and the body. And I need to make this arm cast a shadow as well. I can even kind of separate the head from the chin, which is another thing I need to round out with the shadow. But the weirdest thing to me right now is it still has no mouth. So what I'll do is select this area where we're in the mouth, just so I know where it is, paint the light shadow on top. It kind of already makes sense, but we can make it look way better by adding a darker shadow. It kind of looks weird, but I think I'll go into the highlights and then come back to it later. I'll highlight the top of this alligator eye and add some to this ridge as well. And I can put some on the top of the head and even this lip under the eye. I just tried something that makes this guy look really smug, but it also makes the mouth look a lot better. And all that is adding a highlight right there, and I can fade out the bottom and also get rid of some of the shadow underneath. And to me, that made his mouth look a lot better. This stomach might have some highlights on the top of each ridge, which I can quickly add in and then just fade out the bottoms afterwards. To accentuate that shape, I'm going to add some bigger highlights to the top, and then I'll add shadows on the bottom of each ridge as well. And that just shows how much some shading can really do, which makes me want to go back to the mouth and add some darker shading on the bottom of it. Maybe even some brighter highlights on the top of it. The mouth does seem to go down a bit further than I have it, so I'm going to continue that highlight down there. And that definitely made it look a lot more like his icon. I can also add some shading in between the patterns, have some highlights on top of them as well. I can even add some highlights on this arm to make it a bit more 3D. That looks pretty cool. I think everything is working well together, but I do want to add a camera raw filter on top. I'm going to hit convert to smart object, and then using a camera raw filter, I'm going to be able to go in and change these hue, saturation, and luminance values. I want to make it a bit more saturated and a bit brighter in the oranges. Comparing this icon to the one on the left, I want to make the colors as similar as I can. Making the aqua a bit brighter, but also a lot more saturated. Same goes for the blues. I can even turn up the texture here, while also turning the exposure up just a little bit. This is before, and this is after. Can't wait to see that in game, but we do have one more that we have to do. Let's look up Vortrox's icon. Honestly, my first thought is that it's just Batman, right?
Batman.
But another thing that you might find when you look it up is that he has this profile picture that shows it in a lot more detail. So I'm actually going to use this as most of my reference. Now with Batman, I feel like his suit is usually rubbery. I'm going to get a rubber texture, and this one seems to be the right consistency. Now I also want a